Hey there, fellow citizen of the internet. Welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast. Today, I have with me Roberto Capodieci, and we're going to be talking about decentralization. Roberto, welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast.
Hey, hi, and thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. So a happy Monday to you. And can you remind me, like, where it is that you're calling from?
I live in Bali, Indonesia. I am from Venice, Italy. I spent 12 years in Florida, and now it's 20 years that I am here in Southeast Asia, in Bali. Because if people go on holiday somewhere, why not move there and live there, right?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
must be a good reason people go on holiday somewhere. So there you are.
Venice, Italy. I think the first time I was in Venice was probably 8 years ago, maybe. I'm in the process of learning Italian right now. Don't ask me
Oh,
anything
wow,
because
ok.
I'm not.
Possiamo fare questa conversazione in italiano?
No, 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 no,
No, no.
no. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. My girlfriend, she's Italian, and so
Oh,
I
wow, okay.
just got back from Volterra. It's a small town in near Pisa. It's about an hour away from Pisa, and
One of the best area of Italy.
yeah, really. And so I'm learning, and I was there for 3 months.
That's pretty cool.
I think cumulatively I've been in Italy for about 9 months.
If she's an old tradition Italian lady, you're gonna have a blast. She's gonna take care of you in the best way,
It's been
The,
amazing.
when an Italian woman has a competitor woman, usually it's the mother of the boyfriend. No, another girl, That's the competition. How she cooks, how she take care of it is a war between mother-in-law and and the
Yeah.
lady. So that she's gonna be exceptional.
I gotta write that down. I hope she watches this one. Uh, so well, that's a very good place to start. So I know that the conversation here is gonna be about decentralization, and
Oh, no problem.
on the technical side is gonna be pretty in depth. Maybe a little bit more low level than high level. We'll see how it goes. But so right off the bat, we I'm noticing that you're not the average folk, so to speak. So you're because I think like 10 years ago I read this statistic that at least in the States, it was like 80 or 90% of individuals, they were born, raised, and they died within a
In the
50
same
mile
town.
radius. And that
Yes,
that
incredible.
really threw me off. So right off the bat, you're born in Venice. You've been in Indonesia for 20 years. Have you learned the local language?
Look, you learn it in 2 weeks. The
Oh,
basic to communicate, I think, is one of the easiest language in the planet.
really?
Then to speak it very well is more complex.
Right.
But you consider verbs are not conjugated. There is no female or male. There is no singular or plural. There are no articles. And, it's
Oh,
really basic. Already English is way simpler than Latin language like
yeah,
Italian,
yeah.
Spanish, because so this is really basic. The grammar is very low, and the alphabet is exactly like our alphabet. So it's
Okay.
not like Chinese
Yeah,
that you need
yeah.
to learn or Thai.
Cool. Wait, so then how many languages do you speak?
Well, Indonesia, because after 20 years, if you want it or not, you speak it. I never studied, so it's not very good, but it's enough to communicate if
Right.
I want to. I know French because I had it in school. When I was a little kid, somehow Italy and France were friends, and in school you will have 9 classes of French against one of English. And everybody was disappointed because everybody wanted to learn English.
Right.
But correctly, the director of the school came out and says everybody that is studying in French in life, they're gonna speak French and English. Those that get English, they're gonna speak only English, and it's actually true at the end. I can speak French fluently. I can speak Italian because it's my language. I can speak English quite well. It's not very good, but it's decent.
Really well.
And so it is a blessing. I could speak Spanish quite well, and then I had a girlfriend from Brazil, and I started learning Portuguese. And because they're so similar, I mixed them up. So I made a sort of a mixed language between the two things. It's terrible. In fact, it can happen if you said you're learning Italian, you already know Spanish. Good luck, because you're gonna mix the two languages very easily because they are pretty much identical.
Yeah.
An Italian can listen to a Spanish-speaking person and understand 90% of what the person say without having never studied the language. We are so similar.
Wow. So that's like 5 languages. Holy smokes.
Indonesian, English, French, Italian, and a little bit of a few others, just enough to go by.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you're 100% right that these languages that are very similar, they throw you off.
Well, French, Italian, even the sounds very different, the grammar is identical. It's very funny because in Italian, as much as in French, there is no neutral, so everything has a sex. So the chair is female. The table can be male or female, depends how you call it in Italian. The light bulb is female. I know, there is no rule to know what is male or female. And many words that are male in Italian are female in French. And that's why for an Italian, French sounds very gay, because it's not only the sound of the language that is very, soft and nice, very romantic as a language, but also the changing of sex of item is a joke that many people play to, to show the diversity in sex. So it's fantastic to hear. At the same time, Spanish is a language that sounds like they're partying constantly. You cannot hear somebody coming from Italian speaking Spanish that sounds like it's serious. It's like, hey, ole, beer, la fiesta. And this is, in Portuguese, you are dancing like Brazilian Portuguese mostly. You're dancing when you talk. Is a very nice. On the other side, in Europe, we have language like German, which I cannot speak at all. Very complex grammar, very, very, very complicated grammar. And it sounds very hard. How can you be romantic in a language that you like this, right? Italian, the beauty things is that you can go from strong to soft, so there is all the variety of choice of words,
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but so there is another language that is like that not many people know, because French, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, they have the same root, so they're very easy to understand one to the other. But Romanian is also a Romantic language, so has the same root of the others. So we have this East European country that has so many common words with this other language, and is also easier to learn from the starting point.
Yeah.
So that's a small deep dive in the language. And I have a theory that I want to share with you. That is, was we are in this topic of languages. You know that a little baby, and I'm a father of 4, so I know about babies, cries a lot. They have also these terrible 2s or 3s where they have these tantrums like this. Mostly because they are at the point where they understand that people can communicate with the language. They don't know how to communicate, so they're very stressed because they cannot share their needs or their problem. So they cry and they go very upset with this until they figure out how to communicate and reduce their... And so learning a language is a need that a baby has since he's very little. And my theory is more complex is the grammar of the language that the baby needs to use to communicate, more intelligent he's going to become, because he has to do synapses in his brain. They're very complex. So that's why all the crazy scientists are German, because German grammar is very, very complicated, right? So in the movies, all the scientists are German, because you're born and grew up in a place where to learn to communicate, your brain needs to work a lot. Places where language are much more simple, usually, less development. Okay, now I'm saying something that can be very bad.
No, you're good.
It's a joke, but it's an interesting thing, on one direction.
Right. That's interesting. So to close off this language, I promise this is not a podcast about languages, although it's really interesting.
Why not?
So I do speak Portuguese and I do speak Spanish.
All right.
And learning Italian is making it very difficult because I know these two languages.
Correct.
It's just sometimes it feels like, oh, okay, my learning is gonna be very accelerated, and then I hit a word that just in Portuguese or in Spanish means something completely different. Like burro. Right, in both in Portuguese and Spanish, burro means donkey, right? And for some reason in Italian, it's butter. It's like butter. Why? I don't, so like the second that I have hope that I'm gonna learn this language, I run into a word that just like throws me completely off, and it's like, okay, never mind, it's gonna take me a long time. So okay, let's make the shift here to
Okay.
decentralization. And we can actually use languages a way to as a way to bridge this, because there's this ancient biblical story that mankind
Babel.
was building this tall building,
The tower,
and
yes.
and so
But that's a very good analogy point if
Yeah.
you wanted how to split, how to. But think about if you want to look at the language as a point of connection. In many countries, here in Indonesia, Bali. Bali has his own language, which is Balinese.
Yeah.
And based on the caste the people belong, the language is different. So the ruling caste speaks a language that the farmer don't understand. And this was in Italy as well.
Right.
Latin was kept for the ruling, and the vulgar language for the people was from Tuscany. In fact, the dialect is what became Italian language, because they don't want the affair of some to be heard, understood by others.
Right.
They created these differences. So this is create a split. You need to go to somebody. Like illiterate people in the past, they will call somebody to scribe for them, right? If they wanted to send a letter,
Right.
they will pay some money, they will speak what they want, the person will write, and they need to trust this person, because this person may write something different, right? And not being decentralized means they needed to go to somebody in order to achieve a goal. And learning the language and writing the letter by yourself is a sort of a form of decentralization, in terms that you can create the hook directly.
Right. So then how does that translate into the decentralization of information within the computer space? Before getting too low level, right? Like
Sure, no.
we're not gonna get into the encryption and decryptions yet, but at the information stage and the computer side of the conversation, what does that mean to have information that's decentralized?
Decentralized. I give you a very beautiful example that can be understood by many people that at least use a computer and email in the past 30 years. If you think at the beginning of the mail service, each office had their own mail server. So there were thousands of mail servers around the world. And when you send an email, it goes from your computer in your office to the mail server of your office. And from the mail server of your office, it was going straight to the mail server of the recipient person office. And then from there to their computer. So the content of this email was only managed by two mail servers and the people that won't send the received email. Today, 99% of the email of the world go through Outlook, Gmail, Proton, Yahoo, and another couple. So less than 10 providers control all the mail of the world. This means that messaging through email is now centralized. We rely on a few identities, few companies for something that is vital. Email in particular is a protocol that is horrible because it's super old, has not many bases for security. They try to patch a few things but don't work. Email can be spoofed. I can send somebody an email, pretend it comes from somewhere else. It's very easy. And they're not encrypted, so they're in clear. Somebody use GPG or PGP, one of the two, signing to guarantee the content of the mail. But most of the mail go out. If somebody at the mail server change the content, there you go, and you have an email that is being tampered with and nobody knows. So it's a very key part of the world communication that is centralized in the hand of few that we need to trust for the quality, guarantee, and privacy of our email. But the trust has to be, given in a more similar to a faith than a practical belief, trust that can be proven. Okay, so it is interesting how something that is core for how people work up to today is still so vulnerable and so centralized, right?
Yeah.
So we need to re-decentralize services or decentralized services that are central.
So there's this Pareto distribution principle, or commonly known as the 80-20 rule, right? It just means that, let's say, for example, within a domain of competence, so in this case, email service providers, like 20% of them are going to provide 80% of the emails out there.
I think it's much more
Than that.
in the mail world.
Yeah.
I never heard an office of their own mail server unless they're a large institution. But like a bank may have their own mail server, they will never give the email of a bank to Gmail, I hope.
Right.
But
Yeah.
even government officials in many countries, they don't have their own mail server, so they use.
So I'm bringing this up because it's like, how does decentralization, how would decentralization go against this cemented rule that we see in many different places? So like we even see that in the sports places, for example, right? It's like only a very small percentage of individuals can play basketball, and only a tinier percentage of those that can play basketball play in the NBA. So the Pareto distribution is seen in many places. How would it be different in the like how would decentralization play a role in this?
Okay.
Like basically, like what I'm trying to get to is like
No.
Okay,
But I get where you are,
Yeah.
and I give you another practical example. Those are all analogy for decentralization because technically it's not decentralization, but the approach is decentralized. If you think about TV superstars, okay, in the past the channel to get there would be only through connection of people working in the TV networks and things, and the favors, the people to do the favors. Comes out YouTube, celebrity are made by people liking somebody.
Right.
And then the network need to take these people in. In fact, a lot of people go from YouTube to work in television, right? So if you think a little bit, the analogy could be here that the channel of access, the channel to arrive to the top in the world of entertainment, for example, start from a different base. There is no centralized. There is no one person that sign up. And this for music is big, for example. Music, if you're not friend of blah, 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 do the favor to, we have a very good example recently that happened, quite horrible. But if you don't go those two channels, you will never make, and then there are just the decision make. While if now a musician has the chance not to be produced by a label, but to be promoted by the people because people actually like and support with Patreon and things, that's come bottom up. Probably then this is a way that represent how the access to everybody on something and indirect, so without the vetting of somebody on the decision, can promote and achieve goals that would never been achieved if they were centralized in the terms one entry door only.
Yeah. So let's get a bit more specifics here. So the first thing that's coming to mind here is, let's say, X, formerly known as Twitter, right? So they're trying to create like a town square of information, for example, right? Where anybody and everyone can speak, right, and let their voices heard, so that information is not being filtered from one or two major news channels, right? So is that an attempt, a good attempt for decentralization?
I give you a better example. Still, we can still call it Twitter because this happened before Elon Musk took over. Okay. Dorsey, that was the CEO of Twitter, was there when Donald Trump got kicked out of Twitter, for example, banned, censored, call it whatever you want. You can be agree or not with Donald Trump, but this is the fact that a voice has been turned off. The fact that a company hosts the content that you provide. So I write a post in Twitter. My post goes to the Twitter data centers, the Twitter servers, and Twitter serve my content to others. Facebook, the whatever, LinkedIn, and so on. So much they can even choose to shadow ban somebody, meaning that you post, you're convinced that is shown to other people. It's not shown because rather than canceling your post, they decide just not to show it, So they are an actual curator of what goes out, and even sometimes what goes in, because when you write a post, look in YouTube now, everybody self-censor. There is a set of words that people cannot say, because if they say, their channel get blocked and so on and so forth, which is ridiculous, because those are words that somebody the news cannot say, and they are facts. They are not like somebody tried to make us up stories or things, And this is ridiculous in my opinion. But the censorship and all these things can happen because when you hold the content as a company, you're responsible for it. So you're forced to remove it because you're compelled to do, because the law make you do it, and so on and so forth. Dorsey started a project which was called Blue Sky, eventually moved to another project again, where the content is not saved in the data center of the company, but is put in a decentralized storage. So sort of a drive that is maintained by many computers that are in a network with each other, okay? So when you save the content there, you're not saving in the hand of anybody. So there is no one person can decide to delete it. It's there. And then the application like Twitter would in the case only provide the interface to access and see this content, but is not responsible for the content because the content is not in their hands. So in this case, there are no law, become a gray area. Regulator need to write a new set of rules for something like this. If you remember at the time of BitTorrent, the Pirate Bay had no pirate moving site. So the Pirate Bay was not a server hosting pirated movie, pirate music. It was an index. It was a place where you put the name of a title and it show you where to go and find it. But there was nothing. It's like if a way you sit in a corner of a road and somebody come asking for you for illegal stuff, and you send, you go in the house, you find this thing, you go in the house. How guilty can you be for sharing information like this? Is a freedom of speech. There is nothing that you are doing illegally. It's the other person that decide to go there and purchase something illegal or do something illegal. Just knowing where the illegal things are, is a gray area. It's not very clear. But yet they had to regulate these sort of things because there was no way to stop the content production. So the use of decentralization in the case of Twitter, which will be in the case of X, will be in the case of many social media, because we are going in the direction, is the fact that the content is no more held and curated by the social media company. Social media become a sort of a Uber, connect the content creator with the content consumer in a place that doesn't belong to them. So they become just the connection part. The regulator are going to start regulating this thing, but the responsibility of something illegal will fall in the person that posted and the person that consume it, and no more on the platform, because the platform is going to have no tools to know that something is there. It just provide the interface, and tomorrow they're not going to even provide the interface because it's going to be decentralized as well. So
I have one giant word that I wrote here, which is trust. Right. So somehow you whatever platform, whatever company has to create an infrastructure that the people that have the technical know-how would trust that information, the information that is collected, is truly decentralized, meaning like no outside forces entities can access that information and manipulate that information, and or actively choose who gets access to what information. I hope I'm making sense. Anyways, trust is going to be a big thing, but the question that I actually have here is, what is, from your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle that is standing between what currently is and where we need to be as far as decentralizing information?
Interest, most of all, because shifting the interest in terms of financial interest in the process, shifting the model shifts also the revenue model attached to it, right? So if you don't hold as we're saying, we are in the information era. The current value commodity is information. If you don't own the information, if you don't hold the information, you cannot sell it, you cannot make money. So all those large corporations that run at these big social media containers, they want to grab most of the small writing that you sign and accept in terms and condition. You are giving these people free possibility to monetize the content that you do for their own terms. Sometimes they share, sometimes not, but for sure everything that is free, you are the product, they say it is, right?
Yeah.
So in the moment that you decentralize something, it becomes hard and difficult for this company to monetize. And so it's also hard to advertise because there are already many alternatives to a lot. There is alternative to YouTube, there are decentralized, and there is no control on content. In fact, you can find everything. So the responsibility then is yours of not to accept, to filter out what you don't want to see. But there is nobody that can control what can be posted, right? Because it's decentralized. And there is alternative to Twitter, there is alternative to Facebook, there are alternative to everything. There are decentralized, but because they cannot monetize, they cannot advertise, and they cannot hold people in, so it's more difficult. So it's a cultural shift as soon as people understand and slowly move towards some other solution, and then it's self-maintained because people themselves are supporting the infrastructure, so it scales automatically with the growth. So that's the beauty of it.
True. The thing that's coming to mind is that if you remove the financial incentives of the advertising companies or just people that want to be able to monetize their platform one way or another, it seems inevitable that you're going to introduce like content moderation seems inevitable in that if you're trying to provide a platform that anybody and everybody can safely, whatever that means, use, right? At the same time, you don't want to control who gets access to that information.
The paradigm change. Now you block people from posting. Now you shut up people from talking.
Right.
With the centralized format, you let people that listen to choose what to listen to. It's like to have a radio that in the past there are only 3 frequencies, so you need to moderate what goes out.
Yeah.
The moment they have 1 million frequency, open it up. If somebody has a radio that is disgusting, nobody's going to listen. Or the niche, they like the disgusting thing, are going to listen it. And if this thing is illegal, law enforcement go there, arrest them. I'm not saying that decentralization is for illegal activities. It's very important to understand.
Yeah.
Anything that is not legal is to be enforced and punished, period. I don't have tolerance for illegal activities, but cannot be that one person does something illegal, then the system is banned from everybody else. Doesn't make sense, you wouldn't be selling cars tomorrow if that was the case.
Right. But like so like, what was it? Maybe yesterday or the day before, I was scrolling on X. And obviously the algorithm is feeding me what it thinks I want to see, right? Based on the things that I've done before, based on the things that I've seen before, that I've interacted with before, plus all kinds of other different algorithms, and so. But as I was scrolling, I just randomly saw this footage, a war zone footage, right, of someone being unalived, right, and so. Well, I've seen many of those before, for better or for worse, right? That's a different, not within the X platform, right?
X,
YouTube, movies, movies,
Telegram,
right,
for sure.
Right. And so, but like, if it wasn't me, right? Let's say the algorithm was taking a chance, right, just to show me that, and all of a sudden I'm traumatized or fill in the blank. That is
right.
I still have the ability to, I guess, choose what to see, but
well, you know what? Today there are solutions that are practical. I run vision AI model in my own computer. So AI model, they are not LLM, but they have vision. So they see a picture, they can see what there is in the picture. Okay, and AI don't get traumatized. Okay. So I can pre-filter content that I will see in my own device with a mini model that simply doesn't show me things or can cover up and give me the option to,
Yeah.
I mean, we have possibility to protect ourselves. Is the mobile phone of my son? I'm gonna tell the AI of the mobile phone of my son. No matter what my son tells you, don't get convinced. Stop content that is not proper for 10 years old, 12
Yeah.
years old,
Yeah.
or whatever. And so that's
But you have the technical know-how, right? For the average individual,
right.
right?
It should be produced. You should buy tomorrow. A phone 16 has already AI chip and everything. There is not yet running. The operating system doesn't have yet the AI inside, but it's a matter of a short time. Already there are Android phones that run AI model with the chip inside.
Well,
Nvidia is producing chips that can do this. So we're entering. It's not that it's ready today,
yeah,
but
yeah.
give it 1 year or two, it is gonna be ready for sure.
So I guess let me try to like reframe this. When we have a goal, right, that we're trying to attain, there are, at least in my head, I break it down into intended good consequences, intended potentially bad consequences, unintended good consequences, and unintended bad consequences. So as we're moving towards decentralized information, whatever that fully means, what do you think are some of the dangers that lie ahead of us that we might not be thinking of? Like what are the dangers of decentralization here?
Is a bad protocol. Protocols that are not studied to make the decentralized system sustainable, safe, and good. Protocols that are not designed well, it cannot be updated, risk to be protocols that have limits and that can be played and can be made to do things that are not intended to be done.
Okay.
Like a double spending in proof of work, if you want, rather than which do happen. So better and better a protocol is, and the beauty is that every node can customize its own version of the protocol. If has enough standard to remain in the circle, but can limit. For example, in a potential peer-to-peer network where transaction goes through, I can decide to bounce transaction that I don't like, and nobody can stop me from doing this. I will be a minority, so if I produce a block, I would not include them, and I can win. If I don't propagate it, other are gonna propagate this is gonna reach. But if more people think like me, those transactions are gonna be broadcasted. As simple as it is, It is organic and works. So the possibility to shape the model of the protocol as it goes, as need comes up by themselves, and discuss between the people that can design this thing, and we should be able to soon we don't need developers anymore. Soon you talk to the AI, say, make these changes, and it changes the software for you. So each of us will be able to say to the AI, look, I know you can recode or re-trigger my protocol. I would like to make these changes, suggest them to the others. If people agree with these changes, they can apply them as well. And it is a living animal. It's something that grows and shapes up based on what people want. So is psychological convincing, for example, that if tomorrow everybody believe, or the majority believe that the world is flat, and that's what become the reality, and the truth. So it should be shaped in a way that you say, no, historical document or scientific proof or, picture from space or whatever prove that is not the case. And then it depends how it's designed.
But something tells me that you know at the deep core that on a state level, state meaning country level, right? Well, let me give you two questions first. Are you saying that everything all the frameworks and infrastructures need to be open source? And then the second question to that is, if so, on a national level, not every country is gonna want to play ball, so to speak, right? Not every country is gonna make their system want to be open source for varying reasons. So how do you, circling back to that whole trust word, how do you ensure trust on scales like this?
When you have a network, okay, every node has the full freedom to change the way you want. In the moment that it's too different, it's automatically outside the network. Or it's gonna network only with other nodes that change as it changes. Think about the phone network. I can make a phone call from Indonesia to the United States, And the phone system is compatible so much that I can ring directly an apartment without going through any operator or anything,
Right.
In the past, you may remember, you have to talk with an operator to reach certain destination.
Yeah.
And that was because the piece of phone network on one side was different from this, and there was no understanding if I cannot dial a phone number there. And to an operator, they need to finish the things for me. Now there is a standard, and this standard is not that the law came and enforced one particular standard, else you go to prison. Has been the one that won, the one that must choose, the other had to adapt to that. Or they created their own, and they have their own network, but they are the railways, the train rails. There are 2 or 3 formats in the world, so that an American train cannot go in the European tracks, or the Russian one cannot go, I don't know. But most have a precise measurement, which has a very weird history. Google it because it's very interesting. Why the distance of the wheel is that. But it became a standard. So a train can travel from one side of the world almost to the other, and always compatible with the railway. But probably at a certain point, one country had to move and change it to make it compatible with the rest of the country. Else, no commerce, no tourist, And this is the organic way that things become compatible, I guess, right? It's beautiful. There is no imposed from the top down.
Yeah. So it's crazy. We come to the top of the hour. I haven't even touched into how you got into this. So,
right, and we need to do a few more episodes.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Part 2 and part 3 and
absolutely,
part 4.
Absolutely. So for me, when just a quick background.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm in the U.S. now, but before I came to the U.S., I was in Mozambique. I was born in Rwanda.
Okay.
I grew up in Mozambique, and so
I had a girlfriend from Rwanda.
Crazy, awesome.
Interesting.
That's really interesting.
Small world, okay.
World. And so, but before I came to the States, in 2009, I didn't even know what Google was, right? So the second that I got here, all of a sudden there is tons of tech. The iPhone had just come out like a year or two before, and within like 9 months, I was already in the middle school trying to bypass the school's firewalls to access different webs, right? So that just the idea of wanting to really understand how this tech worked, it came super innately to me. And so I guess what I'm trying to get to is like how did you end up in this computer space?
Because exactly the same drive that you had, I had it since I was a little kid. My brain works a little different. I don't have I follow logic. I don't follow. I cannot learn a rule and apply it. If I don't understand it, there is no way. So everything that has a logical consequence works for me, and is a way to rebuild. Even a phone number has a musicality. If it doesn't have a musicality, it's hard for to memorize. I sing it out, and I still remember phone number of my classmates when I was 6 years old. Because they follow a sound. There is a logic of the sequence of patterns, and the idea of having to understand how everything works. I mean, I look around, and every item I need to know how it works. When there is something that I don't know, I cannot go sleep, So, And computer, can you imagine, were the most fascinating thing. It was a universe where I can be the ruler, and he has to obey me. It is a planet that is fantastic. As soon as I learned that you can even communicate, at the time, we're talking about 1992, no, even less. Sorry, I'm born in 74. In 84, I was 10. In 85, 86, I was connecting with a modem through bulletin board system. There was a network called FidoNet. That, they were the first thing. But even before I was going to a phone booth, I put a coin inside. I called somebody in Japan. They will answer, and then the line drops. But the idea that from Italy, I get somebody in Japan to get up and pick up the phone was exciting, My action in Italy had an effect on the other side of the planet. And this is the drive that, brings me to explore, invent. I try to remain as much as illiterate as I can, because more I learn, more inside the box I end up, When I don't learn, I discover, and I come up with better, good ideas. So I love it.
So
And that's what's push me.
does that mean high school, late middle school, you spent a lot of time without like a lot of time without your peers of your age?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I am number 4. My brothers and sister are 18 years older than me.
Okay.
So my second name is oh crap, and you know, and uh, and I always hang out with my brother and sister friends. So all my friends are about 15 to 20 years older than me,
Okay.
still as of today, which was you know, a more mature talk, different kind of worries that I became father when I was 17 years old as well,
Wow. Wow.
which brought me to the idea, I was already running my business. I speed up
Yeah.
goals in life quite a lot, but I don't regret. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we definitely need a part 2, 3, and 4 because it's already 10. Well, it's already been almost an hour on my end, but so if there's like three main key points here that the average individual that doesn't understand what the heck decentralization means and why we should be moving, I don't know if we should or shouldn't, but from your opinion, why you think we should be moving towards decentralization, what would be the 3 key points that you would let the audience take away with here?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think we should. I think we are. We like it or not.
Okay.
That's the direction we're going.
Okay.
You know, we shouldn't have moved from VHS to streaming online. We did just because that's how we moved on. Okay.
Okay.
So we are going in the direction. We like it or not in many aspects. And the quality, so we need to remove the need of trust. You were talking about trust before.
Yeah.
So when you use a middleman for a transaction of any type, I send you an email, it goes through my server in the hand of other party. I make you a phone call, it goes through a phone company. You need to trust this third party for your privacy, for the quality of the service. Sometimes, for example, a financial transaction, your Friday night, you need to wait Monday morning to do it because they're closed. So you depend on them also.
Yeah.
When you decentralize all these things, it's directly one-to-one. So you don't have to rely on third party in aspect of trust and in aspect of, limitation that these people can impose. And in a full large worldwide set of networks where decentralized things happen, is the individual. Each individual can be an individual person, a school, wherever there is a node, choose how to participate in this network. And it's beautiful. I believe it is opening up a lot of opportunities that we don't have today.
Okay. So I'm in my head a lot of the pushback that the average individual has when these topics are thrown at them. Primarily come from a lack of understanding, right? Of course, from a lack of understanding.
But look, there was a kid using Facebook in his cell phone, and I says, "Oh, there is internet connection." He says, "No." So, but that's Facebook. It is Facebook, no internet, 2 different things.
Right.
So, no understanding that to have Facebook work, you need an internet connection.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You don't need to know how an engine works to ride a car.
Right.
You need to know how to drive,
Right.
So at the end of the day, the consumer need not to know, and regulator are there to protect his consumer that in his illiteracy, hope that the service that he uses are regulated so that nobody take advantage of them. That's the base of the population and service provided.
Yeah.
You enter in a bank, you give your money to the bank, you trust that the government regulation or enforcement make sure that these people are for real and don't run away with your money because it was a fake bank.
Yeah.
Somebody did this. They opened fake offices of bank as well. And so I think that under this aspect, people are just going with the flow. They're going to start, they start using cell phone, they start using things, they're going to go a little bit better, layer up, people that can understand more, can understand how to operate properly, these sort of things.
Okay. I think that's a good place to stop, even though we could continue going on and on and on. I would love to for part 2, 3, and 4. I want to dive more.
I'm here.
I want to dive more into what you see the future of social media companies being like, and the impact of, well, we didn't even dive into Web3 or anything like that. I want to be able to unpack some of that.
I like to define what Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 really is, and know what the buzzword is about.
Exactly.
In the next episode.
Absolutely. Roberto, a happy Monday to you. Thank you so much for dropping in. If people want to learn more about you, where do they go?
Very simple. My handle in LinkedIn is RC10. So it's the classic linkedin.com/in/RC10. Because as you're studying Italian, Capodieci, my family names, the H is number 10, right? Quindi R for Roberto, C for Capo, 10, Roberto Capodieci. Okay. Or rcx.it is a short link to my website. RCX numeral in Roman is number 10 again, so rcx.it, because I'm Italian or because information technology is the industry I work in. Very easy.
Roberto, thank you so much for coming to the Moses Kabandana Podcast. I can't wait to have you on for the next one.